Hi everyone, this is the Michael Myers Fanatic. I'm here today to review a movie called Timecop, and it came out September 16th, 1994. It is by Largo Entertainment, Signature Pictures, Renaissance Pictures, and Dark Horse Entertainment. And again, it came out September 16th, 1994. It is a American science fiction action film directed by Peter Hyams and co-written by Mike Richardson and Mark Verheiden. It's a really good movie. It stars Jean-Claude Van Damme as Max Walker, Ron Silver as a rogue politician named Senator Aaron McComb, and Mia Sara as Melissa Walker, Max Walker's wife. It's basically about this police officer in Washington, D.C. named Max Walker. He discovers that by the year 1994 they have been working on a way to travel through time, and this program is called the Time Enforcement Commission, or the TEC. It is policed by Commander Eugene Matuzak of the Washington Police Department. Matuzak is played by Bruce McGill, and the movie basically starts off in Gainesville, Georgia, in 1863, between the Union and the Confederacy, and they're basically arguing about gold or some shit like that. The Confederacy guy kills the Union guy with a machine gun, and that's only because the Union has never seen anything like that before. I'm assuming the guy went into the future and got the machine gun. This is gonna be so fucking confusing. This is why I don't like doing films that involve time, because the timeline can be so confusing, and time itself can be confusing. So the movie starts off with Sunday, October 9th, 1994, and Max Walker is not there yet. Melissa's waiting for him at some kind of car shop or something like that, and she's basically standing there in front of all these clocks, and then he comes up to her and he says, "There's never enough time." And she says, "Never enough time for what?" And then he's like, "To satisfy a woman." And he's like, "Are you busy?" I don't remember exactly line for line, but you guys know what I'm talking about. The reason I'm even reviewing this movie, although it is not a horror movie, it is a supernatural movie, because time travel is supernatural. I've always been fascinated with time travel and the idea of going back and changing something that already happened, or knowing the future. Those kinds of things fascinate me, so that's why I'm putting this on this channel. So as I was saying, Max and Melissa are talking at the car store and shit like that, and some dude comes up to Max, I mean not Max, but he comes up to this old lady and steals her purse. And Max goes and sticks his foot in the dude's face, and he's like, "Read it." And then the dude reads his shoe. He says, "Wolverine." And then Max is like, "Between the lines." And then the guy is like, "I should get the fuck out of here." And Max is like, "Good." And that purse, it doesn't look good on you. See, when they wrote this movie, this is really good writing. You know, I really enjoyed the dialogue in this movie. I enjoyed all the characters. I highly recommend this movie. So basically, they keep talking and shit like that. They're flirting with each other. And Melissa tells Max, I can see the future. And then he says, you can see the future, huh? Well, what do you see? She says, I think it's going to rain. We're both going to have the afternoon off. So they basically go home and have sex. And a few hours later, somebody calls saying that Max has to come into work. And she doesn't really want him to go. She's like, oh, there's nobody on the streets that can protect it except Max Walker, huh? Or something like that. And she wants to tell him she's pregnant, but she can't for whatever reason. She doesn't want to tell him she's pregnant. So as soon as he goes out the door, these thugs start kicking the shit out of him. I mean, they're beating his ass. And when I saw this movie, I was like, but you're Jean-Claude Van Damme. You know, you're supposed to kick ass. It's what you do. But not in this case. They beat the living shit out of this dude. They really did. They kicked his ass and shot him. And then killed his wife. Alright, look. I know we're not perfect, and I don't mind getting my ass kicked. Well, I do, but put it this way. I could understand you beating me up, but you're gonna kick my ass and then kill me. That's like overkill. But luckily he was wearing his bulletproof vest. So basically they blew up his house with his wife inside of it. And since he can't travel forward into the future, he can go back. He has to wait 10 years. So he waits 10 years and it's 2004. And we meet his partner, Captain Lyall Atwood. And he's played by Jason Schombing. And anyway, Lyall used to work with Max, but then Lyall went rogue and he started using time travel to do crooked shit. Like, I remember this one scene where he went to October 29th, like, not October 29th, my fault. He went to October 1929 and he was trying to buy up some stock. That way he'd be rich or something like that. But then Max shows up to 1929 and he's like, I gotta take you back. And then Lyall Atwood is like, I can't go back. If I go back, the senator's gonna kill me. And again, this is confusing because I thought Senator McComb didn't become fully corrupt until 2004. So how would he know that the senator is going to kill him? See, this is why I don't like doing movies that involve timelines. Because the timelines become confusing. The concept of time travel is already confusing enough. But anyway, he tells Max, I can't go back with you because Senator McComb is going to kill me and kill my whole family. And now that Lyall Atwood is a criminal, Max tells him, I had to take you back anyway. So Lyall Atwood, in the year 1929, jumps out the window. And then Max jumps out the window after him, after Lyall Atwood sicked his security force on Max. And Max basically beat the shit out of them in like 2 minutes. Anyway, what kills me is first Lyall jumps out the window and then Max jumps out the window. And then as they're both falling to the ground, Max reaches into his jacket and presses a button on a device called a modulator, which allows him to open up the time warp. This is what I don't get. When you're falling from a high distance, you're obviously falling at an incredible rate of speed. So how the hell are you going to be calm enough to push the button as you're falling? That part was corny. Because if I was falling, I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't be thinking about a damn button. I can tell you that right off the bat. So I don't understand that. But anyway, Jean-Claude Van Damme, aka Max, presses the button and the time warp opens up, and they end up in the year 2004, where Lyall Atwood has to face his penalty for doing all that crooked stuff that I told you about with the stock, and they sentence him to death. He must have done something else other than that I just don't remember, because all this is over buying up stock. Really? You sentenced the guy to death? Man, thank God I didn't live in the justice system of 2004. They probably would have sentenced me to death for stealing a candy bar or some shit. But anyway, so Lyall Atwood dies, and then that's when Max goes on this whole crusade trying to figure out what kind of person Senator McComb is. And the one thing I loved about this movie is the chemistry between Commander Eugene Matuzak and Max Walker. Bruce McGill and Jean-Claude Van Damme work so well together. And I mean that. That's real talk. They have really good chemistry. I'm telling you, I really highly recommend this movie to you guys. Order it on Amazon. I just got my copy of it. I literally have a whole bag full of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. I only bought his classic ones, by the way. But to get on with the movie, Max is all pissed off because his wife got killed, and I can't blame him. He meets his new partner. She's a rookie, and her name is Sarah Fielding, and she's played by Gloria Rubin. And it turns out that Sarah is working for Senator McComb, and she turns on Max, starts fighting him, but then he punches her in the face. Senator McComb shoots her in the chest. She ends up in the hospital back in '94, and Max has to go back and save her, but those two thugs that killed his wife killed her. And we see Melissa alive again in 1994 because they rewound the time warp. This is what I'm saying. It can get a little confusing. Like I said, I love the chemistry between Bruce McGill and Jean-Claude Van Damme. I like the part where the timeline gets all messed up and Bruce McGill's character, Eugene Matuzak, doesn't remember Jean-Claude Van Damme anymore. So he's like, "Who are you again?" And Max Walker's like, "It's me, it's Max. I'm your friend. You like me." And Bruce McGill's character is like, "I'm going to ask you a question I'm sure the prison psychiatrist will ask you. If we're supposed to be good friends, how come I don't remember you?" See, this is what I'm saying. Bruce McGill had some great fucking lines, and he pulled it off. That's why I'm so impressed with him. Man, bro, you're a good actor. Cause you pulled that shit off. It sounded so real. Like, it sounded like you were really friends with Jean-Claude Van Damme. But anyway, they're having like this back and forth dialogue all throughout the movie. And Max is trying to convince Matuzak that Senator McComb is crooked. And Max is like, he's gonna buy the election. Matuzak is like, he doesn't have me. And then Max doesn't say anything. And then Matuzak is like, I said he doesn't have me. And then Max doesn't say anything. And then he's like, well, fuck you too. I thought that was a great line. This is what I'm saying. Bruce McGill did a really good job portraying Matuzak. So anyway, the timeline's all messed up now because Senator McComb went through the time warp, made some changes. Now Matuzak doesn't remember Van Damme, aka Max Walker. Max Walker spends like 15 minutes trying to convince Matuzak that they're friends. This movie is just so fucking awesome. I don't know what to do. Seriously. I've seen this shit like 100 times. I love it. And speaking of that, speaking of 100 times, Max Walker literally says that to Matuzak. He tells Matuzak, and this is how Matuzak is convinced that they actually do know each other. Max says, I had your wife's goulash 100 times. She always used too much salt. And then Matuzak smiles and he realizes, hey, Max is really my friend. This movie's so awesome. Anyway, guys, getting to the point. Max goes back to 1994 where his wife was killed. And he follows her to the mall. And she meets up with the 1994 version of Max Walker. But before she can do that, the future version, the 2004 version of Max Walker, goes up to her. She's scared shitless. I guess I can't blame her, because he looks different. He looks 10 years older. And he tells her that he's Max Walker. And again, now she doesn't believe him. Let me ask you a question. What is it with this movie and people not believing Van Damme? This is the second time where this dude has to spend like 20 minutes convincing somebody that he's telling the fucking truth. That's the only annoying part of this movie. That's seriously annoying. But anyway, she wants to run away from him. He's grabbing her and shit. And that's the only thing I didn't like about this movie. I'm like, if she don't want you to touch her, don't touch her. Stop grabbing her. But anyway, he's just trying to convince her like, hey, it's me, it's Max. She don't believe him. So she talks with the 1994 version for a little bit. And the 2004 version of Max Walker kind of looks like he's jealous of the 1994 version of himself. So this is the part I don't get. It's like, bro, are you seriously jealous of yourself? This movie is just so awesome. Only in Timecop will you see somebody literally jealous of their own self. Now that's some off-the-wall science fiction shit right there. This dude, I'm telling you, that's gangster. That's some gangster shit. The dude is jealous of himself. Wow. Although, I guess I can see where he's coming from. I guess he's mad because the 1994 version of him gets to relive it again or some shit. I don't know. But this is what I'm saying. The timeline is confusing with this movie. And the one thing I want to tell you guys is, The past version and the present version cannot meet up with each other or they'll both disappear. The same matter can't occupy the same space at the same time. Oh, by the way, I did miss one scene. There's a scene where they're in Washington, D.C., and they're discussing time travel. And Eugene Matuzak is a police officer at this point. At least I think he is. And then that's when he gets promoted as commander. And there's a shootout at this building, which was kind of boring because all they did was spend 20 minutes shooting at each other with nobody hitting anybody. It's like this. This is what it sounded like. Brrr, boom, boom, boom. Brrr, boom, boom, boom. Nobody hit anybody. Just firing machine guns and regular guns back and forth. Brrr, boom, boom, boom. The point of having a gun is that when you aim it at the person, you're supposed to actually fucking hit them. Not just spend 20 minutes shooting at each other. That part was really annoying. But after that part, they go back to 1994. Both of them go back. The 1994 version is already in 1994, and the 2004 version goes back with him, but he stays outside because he doesn't want to risk running into the younger version of himself. So this time he tells Melissa, the 2004 version of Max Walker tells Melissa Walker, the 2004 version of Max Walker tells Melissa Walker to not let the 1994 version go downstairs. So do you guys remember when I told you that at the beginning of the movie, Max Walker got called into work and he went downstairs, and that's when those thugs beat him up. But in this particular version of the timeline, she's like, oh, don't go downstairs. He's like, why not? Oh, I got something to tell you. I'm pregnant. Then she keeps him up there, and the older version, the 2004 version of Max Walker, aka Jean-Claude Van Damme, meets the thug at the door before he gets a chance to do anything. The thug says, who the fuck are you? And then Van Damme is like, a friend of the family. And then that's when they fight and shit like that. And there's a scene where the younger Van Damme is on the roof, and then we come to find out, long story short, that Max Walker told the two Senator McCombs to meet each other there, and that way he can get them together, push them into each other so they can both disappear and fade away. Once he's able to do that, by the way, there's two more great lines I want to point out from this awesome script. There's one line where Senator McComb says something, and I think it's really creepy. He says, any minute now a bomb is going to go off and we're all going to be dead. And you won't be able to save your wife, just like you couldn't save her before. And then Max Walker's like, yes, because you came back and made some changes. And so Senator McComb says something about, so now you're gonna fuck with time. And then Senator McComb was like, you're as bad as me. So then Max was like, wrong, I'm setting it right. See, this is what I'm saying. This was a great fucking script. I really, guys, I want you to know I'm not lying. I really love this script. If this is what was in the original script, this is a great script. And then one guy accused me of kissing the director of the the writer of Halloween Resurrection's ass. No, I wasn't kissing his ass. I just like good writing. If you write a good script, I'm gonna enjoy it. Resurrection had a good script, just like Timecop has a really good script. I really enjoyed this movie. So, again, let me get back to the review. The older Max Walker gets knocked out by one of the thugs. And I have to say, I really like the part where the younger Max Walker is up in the attic and he's beating the shit out of one of the thugs and he throws him out the window. And he gets beat up by the same guys that beat him up earlier in the movie. This is what I don't understand. What do these thugs have against Max Walker? Why do they have to keep beating the shit out of him before they kill him? Why can't they just kill him? I don't get that. They have to just beat him up first. So anyway, the thugs are about to beat Max Walker up again. And then the older Max Walker comes outside and says, well, let me tell you what the thug says first. He says, you're a smart boy, why don't you sleep on it? And then the older Van Damme is like, I did that. And he just starts punching the shit out of the thug and breaks his neck. And I also like the scene where the younger Max Walker is hiding in the house. Like I said, he throws the thug out the window while the older Max Walker is just hiding in the woods. I love the fact that he's just walking around the woods. Like, why is he walking around the fucking woods at night? I'm telling you, I just love this movie. It has its little quirks, but that's what makes it what it is. What movie do you know where a cop is just literally walking around the woods with a gun at night, on a rainy night at that? But I thought that was awesome. He's walking around the woods. He meets one of McComb's thugs in the woods, and the thug knows he's about to get shot. And he's like, oh shit. And then Van Damme shoots him, and he's like, ooh, that's gonna hurt. Or either that's gotta hurt. I can't understand Van Damme. I think it's that's gotta hurt. Because, he's got that thick accent. But anyway, he goes back into his house to save his wife. And he takes the two senators, pushes them together, and then they fade and disappear. That changes the timeline. Now Matuzak remembers him, but Sarah doesn't. And he gets her to remember him by mentioning her boyfriend that she told them about, named Bobby Morgan. That was his name. Anyway, guys, the movie's basically over. We find out that Melissa is alive and Max has a 10-year-old son. I enjoyed the movie Timecop, September 16th, 1994, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme as Max Walker, Ron Silver as Senator McComb, and my homeboy Bruce McGill, aka Commander Eugene Matuzak of the Washington Police Department. I freaking love his character. He should have been in the sequels. They wanted to do a reboot, but yeah, they didn't do it. So anyway, the movie's over. Great movie. Sorry the review took so long. Alright guys, I'm going to get out of here. I'm the Michael Myers fanatic. I approve this message. Timecop from September 16th, 1994. Thank you for listening, guys. Goodbye.